Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I'm Tim. Today I've got an exciting tune for you. You're going to learn how to play Fake It by Seether on guitar. This is one of my favorite tunes of theirs off of their album Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces. In the comments below, let me know what Seether tune you love the most and I'll be happy to do a tutorial on it for you. A quick word about the tuning before we get going. I'll be playing this Fake It guitar lesson in drop D. So take your low E string and just drop it down a whole step to D. The original recording was done in drop D down a whole step, which means if you want to play along to the album, you'll have to drop your low E string down to D, plus then tune all of your strings down an additional whole step. So from low to high, that would be C, G, C, F, A, D. But since we don't have to tune that low, we'll keep it in drop D since the parts are played the same regardless. And it makes it simple for us because most of us are in standard tune, so we don't have to mess around with tuning too much. Now, let's get into Fake It. The track opens up straight into verse 1, which is an 8-measure section that doesn't even have guitar on the recording. But I wanted to give you something here. If you're playing this in a band, then chances are you don't have to worry about this because the basses will have this covered. But if you're playing it by yourself, just want something cool to play, then you can cop this bass line. So when I performed it, I have a whammy pedal that's set to harmonize an octave below myself to simulate that bass. So if you have an octave pedal of some sort or a harmonizing pedal that can harmonize an octave below, then feel free to do that. If not, you can just play the bass line. So here that bass line is. We start on the 5th fret of our 5th string. And we hit that 3 times. And then we come down to the 3rd fret of our low string and we hit that 3 times. And then we come up to the 3rd fret of our 5th string, hit that 3 times, down to the 5th fret of our low string, only twice, do a string skip up to the 3rd fret of our 4th string. So slow, it'll look like this. Okay, the only thing we really have to talk about is that syncopation. We're accenting up beats. It's 8th notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we are getting those ends, right? And another thing to talk about is that this is a swing feel, right? So it's not just, it's not straight 8s. 1 and 2 and 3 and we have that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So you want to get those second half of the beats much shorter than that first half. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you want to get that swing feel, okay? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, the second 2 measures are the exact same except for beat 4. Instead of coming up to the 4th string, we're just going to come down and hit the 3rd fret on our bottom string twice. So the second time that riff plays, it'll look like this. And then you just play that again, those 4 measures the same for another rotation for our total of 8, and then we're into the verse. Another thing that you can do if you're copying this bass line, to get into the verse, you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and... Okay, so we're going to seg into the verse by doing the actual guitar part. But we'll talk about that in the next section since that kind of belongs in the next pre-chorus section. We have a 1.5 beat pickup into the pre-chorus. Okay, we talked about it briefly in the verse, but let's cover it here now. So what we want to do is put our fingers down over all the strings and get an up, down, and then we're going to hit a big D power chord. So we just really fret a D chord, but don't worry about that high string. So we're going to put our first finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And we just can hit all of the strings. Okay, so it's a 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're into our pre-chorus. And that pre-chorus, okay, so 1 and, so we hit that D power chord for 1. And then we want to hit some dead strums again. Drop the fingers, and I also drop this hand on the strings as I hit the strings, and you can hit them nice and hard that way. Okay, so you want to snag some open strings to make this transition and jump to an F power chord. We're going to bar the 3 bottom strings at the 3rd fret and then put our pinky on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Okay? And we're going to hit that twice with another dead strum, followed by some open strings again. Okay, now we're moving up to a C power chord on the 3rd fret of our 5th string and the 5th fret of our 4th and 3rd strings. Okay, again, we're going to hit that twice with a dead strum, followed by some open strings. Okay, and then 2 quick power chords. We jump up to a G power chord, which is barring the 3 bottom strings at the 5th fret and putting our pinky on the 7th fret of our 3rd string. Up strum on some open strings and just move that shape down again to the F power chord and finish the chord progression off with some open strings again. That's our 2 measures, and it just repeats for a total of 4 times for the pre-chorus, exactly the same. The chorus has another 2-bar repeating riff, and we start off nice and easy with some 3 open strings, our D power chord. Okay, so we want to go 1 and 2, get some dead strums. Okay, drop those fingers, drop this hand, get it nice and muted. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We'll get another muted strum on beat 4. Make sure that your pick hand just keeps going down, up all the time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and now we move to our F power chord that we also played in the pre-chorus. Bar those 3 bottom strings at the 3rd fret, put our pinky on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and keep doing that rhythm. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3, and get some open strings on that up strum on beat 3. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we're going to get our C power chord again. We also played this in the pre-chorus, so 1st finger on the 3rd fret of your 5th string and get the 5th frets on the 4th and 3rd strings. And then that repeats 3 times, those 2 measures. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then just repeat that 3 times. And then we get into this. Okay, so that last 2 measures of the chorus is a D power chord on the 5th fret of our A string and the 2 7th frets on our D and G strings. And just 4 strums there, 1 and 2, and we have to move that power chord shape up to the 8th fret and do a 3 triplet 4. So you want to get a down, up, but the timing's a little bit different than what we've been doing. We've been doing just straight swing 8s up till now, so you want to get a 3 triplet 4 there. Okay, and then you want to go back to the C power chord for 1 and 2, and hit some open strings for that end, and then just bar the 5th fret, and then down to the 3rd fret of those 3 low strings. And that's beats 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and there's the chorus. On to our next section. So verse 2 again is really stripped down, but this time it features a lot of muted strumming. Okay, so I'm just going to play through it really slow. I'm going to count as I go through it and just follow along with me and rewind it and play it along as many times as you have to really get it. And there is going to be some freedom with this. Once you really get the hang of this song, you'll be able to just kind of chuck along as you see fit. But if you really want to put those chucks in exactly where they are on the album, then follow along with the recording here and we'll get this exactly right. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... After our second chorus, we have an interlude section that's 8 measures long, and it features some triplet strumming at the end on measures 4 and 8. And it's not too bad other than that. We want to start with our F power chord. So bar those 3 strings at the 3rd fret, and then put our pinky on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. And we want to do this strum pattern. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so it's a down, down, up, up, down. Slide all the way up to the 7th fret. Open strings. Oh, and then we want to do our triplet strums. Okay, so this is an octave shape. So what we want to do is put our first finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string and our pinky on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So there's a string in between. The D string is going to be dead. And it's easy to get that string dead. Your first finger just kind of naturally lays over top of it. The trick though is to get all those other strings muted off properly. So once those fingers are laying properly, you should be able to strum all 6 strings and only hear those 2 that are being fretted. Okay, and then we're just going to slide this shape around. And that may take you a little while to get used to it if you're not familiar with octaves. So don't get frustrated, just keep at it and you will get it. So we want to go 1 triplet down to the 5th fret. Okay, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, all the way up to the 10th fret, and then up to the 12th fret. Okay, and then we repeat, big jump back to our F power chord to start that repeat. And we repeat those 3 power chords again. And then we get into a new set of octave triplets. We start on the 12th fret of the A string, down to the 10th fret, down to the 8th fret, and then down 1 more half step to the 7th fret. And then we get into our solo section, which is, again, very easy. So just more muted strums. We don't really have to talk about this too much. We've already done a lot here in regards to this. You could just keep this strum pattern going. 1 and 2 and 4 and so just mute or miss the strings on beats 1 and 3, and then you're just going to get in between. So 1 and 2 and 4 and that's it. On the recording, there is 1 down strum right on the first beat 1 and 2 and 4, and then that rhythm starts, but you don't really need to do that. You could just keep the same rhythm the whole way through. Let's get into our bridge section. The bridge features a lot of triplet strumming again. It's pretty cool. This time we're not strumming octaves, we're going to strum the full power chord. So we start with the power chord on the 5th fret of the A string. So 5th fret of A string, and then the 7th frets on the D and the G strings, and just go 1 triplet, 2 triplet, down a whole step to the 3rd fret, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Then we take our 3rd finger, bar the 5th fret of the 3 bottom strings. Okay, so that's beats 1 triplet, 2 triplet, and then come down to the 3rd fret, bar those 3 bottom strings at the 3rd fret, just for 1 beat, 3 triplet, and then we want to hit open strings for 4 triplet, and then we repeat that 3 times. The 4th time, we start climbing up the A string here. So we start with our D power chord on the 5th fret. Okay, and we're still keeping our 2 beat triplet pattern, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, come up to the 7th fret, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, all the way up to the 10th fret. And then on the 12th fret. So those last 2 measures. Let's quickly talk about the outro of the tune, and then we'll get into the lead. The outro of the song is really just an open D power chord quick. We've got a double chorus at the end, so just play the chorus exactly twice instead of just once, and then just end it with an open D. So you would finish that 2nd double chorus off. And that's it. Let's get into lead guitar. The first little bit of lead guitar that we encounter is in the interlude section before the main solo. And to get the tone right, you're going to want to get some delay and some sort of a modulation effect. I've got some flange on mine as well as a rotary effect. So if you've got those, then that's great. You'll be able to duplicate it pretty close. And there's not a heck of a lot of distortion on the guitar, so don't go overboard, you know, cranking your gain up to 10. Just dial in a moderate amount of distortion and you should be able to imitate the sound pretty good. So that interlude section is dead easy. It's just 2 notes, and all that we're doing is hitting quarter notes square on the beat. So we're going to start on the 18th fret of the B string and the 20th fret of the high E string, and we just go quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat it. And then we get into our main solo. Here we go. The main solo is a repeating melodic figure that's pretty easy to play, but sounds really nice, works well in the song. So we start on the G string, 9, 10, 9. And then we slide from the 10th to the 12th on the D string. Repeat the 10th to the 12th on the D string, and then come down to the A string, 10 to 12, then 10, 8. So that whole little first couple of measures, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and then we get into our repeat by quickly snagging an open A string there. And then repeat this. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. Now, instead of coming down to the A string on that repeat, we come up to the G string. Okay, and we do that. So we go 10, 12, and then up to the 14th fret. And then you snag some dead strings as we jump back for the repeat. And then we repeat the exact same thing that we played in the first 2 measures of the solo. And now our solo changes here. For the last 2 measures, it builds a little bit by sliding into a higher register. So we start off the same, 9, 10, 9 on the G string. and then 10 to 12 on the D string. But then here we go 10, 12, 14 on the G string. So we want to slide into the 14th. And then we go 12, 14, slide up to the 17th. And then we come up to the 15th fret of our B string and hit that 3 times. So our last 2 measures sound like this. The whole solo, nice and slow. The lead that we play in the bridge comes straight out of our solo, so there's really no pause in that lead guitar. So as you slide out of that final phrase of the solo, bridge. And it doesn't get much easier than this. We're just hitting the 15th fret of the B string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 18th fret of the B string. 3, 4, back to the 15th fret. So repeating those 2 measures, except the second time, just hit the 15th fret on the high string for that final quarter note. Come back and repeat those first 2 measures that we did exactly. And now we're doing a little climb here to coincide with the bridge that's doing. Okay, so the notes that work over that little triplet figure is the 15th fret on the B string, 17th fret, 18th fret, 15th fret on the high string. And then we're out of that back into the song. And that's it for lead guitar. The solo actually plays in the outro. In the outro, we have a double chorus. The solo is 8 measures long. The chorus is 8 measures long, so they work nicely together. So if you're playing this in a cover band, you want to play this tune, then bring that lead guitar back in for that final chorus to really build it. And then just end on that open D for the outro, and that's it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you loved learning how to play Fake It by Seether on guitar. Let me know other bands and songs that you really want to learn by dropping a comment. Don't forget that I'm also covering every single Metallica song off of every single studio album. So click on the links in the description or one of these here, and I'll see you next time.